Captain Adam here from Hiatus Charters, here to give you the hot bite fishing report. John is all the way up in Canada enjoying himself up there, so I've stepped in to kind of help out this week, and we got a lot of great information for you to keep those kings coming. All right, so this time of year, most of the big kings are moving up into the river systems. So people forget about the offshore fishery, which does start back up. What you're doing is looking for cold water. So you're looking for that thermal to come up in the water column. Usually it's 10 miles offshore, a couple hundred feet of water minimum, and then working out deeper. Out there, you're going to find suspended lake trout. You're going to find steelhead. You're going to find cohos, both mature and immature cohos, and you're going to find probably your 2- and 3-year-old kings out there. Normally the speed is a little bit higher. You're still fishing that 60 to 70 foot in the water column. Wherever the thermal is, those fish are attached to that thermal. So wherever the thermal line is, I would target 10 feet above it and 10 to 20 feet into it. But we're running a lot of spoons, a lot of smaller spoons, and kicking that speed up, trying to cover a lot of water. When you do find a pod of fish, make sure that you're paying attention to that pod and then work that pod back and forth. And you can produce good numbers still in the fall. Now, as the water cools down, that fishery will slowly move closer and closer and closer until really you get into late October when it's pretty hard to get out there anymore.
Check out the full line of Polar Kraft boats at polarkraft.com.
All right, so if you're still after those big kings and you're out in your boat, now this is the time to be in the pier heads. I don't think there's going to be fish there every day, but every few days it'll start to reload with some fish. And the primary idea is to usually go pretty slow. We're running lots of plugs. We're running 30-pound tests on everything because all the bites are going to be big bites. You don't want to be breaking them off. Normally I'm running my riggers probably in that 25 to 30 foot range, assuming that your mouth is 40 foot. So I'm going to try to be about 5 feet above off the bottom and then fish all the way up to probably even like a 2 and 3 color. Generally, you can't run a lot of planer boards, usually a lot of boat traffic, so you need to be respectful. Everybody's trying to work together to catch the same fish. If you work together, it works. If you don't work together, it doesn't work. So don't be afraid to run a few of those mag spoons. And we also like to still run a few rotators and meat rigs in that water. And once in a while, a big paddle down the chute can produce for you just a couple feet off the bottom. So first thing in the morning, we're generally running dark green plugs, green plug with a black ladder back. I still like to run some of the other plugs like a pink, blinky and Wonder Bread. Wonder Bread pattern always seems to produce in that warm water. Also, as the sun comes up, don't give up on it. A lot of times we'll put in smaller plugs like a number 3 and chrome or a chrome redhead. Those will often produce very well for you. If the water's really dirty, chrome plugs work really well, even first thing in the morning. Yeah. Many times when you're fishing in the pier heads, it's very congested. You're trying to run small spreads. You're trying to keep your stuff close. You gotta be maneuverable. You have to be able to turn. If you're running a lot of planer boards, you have to be able to reel them in and do it quickly and often. Sometimes it's easier to just run like a 7 color out the back. We'll do that a lot of times. That way we can shorten it up if we need to. We can let it out when there's a little bit more room. A good way to produce with a core. I will run my leads off my cannonballs a little bit longer, maybe in that 30 to 40 foot range. And the same thing with our divers. We probably are going to run a regular diver set on one instead of like a 124 mag diver. We're going to run a small weight 104 diver, and we're going to set that on one. And then our high divers often are slide divers, which are deadly in that close water. Plus you can put a long lead on it. So we'll run a 40 or 60 foot lead and then just let it out 25, 30 feet, 40 feet, whatever in the water column you're trying to find that fish. Great ways to do it. Make sure that you are running heavy tests and when you do hook a fish, remember you still got to drive. So you got to at least get clear of other boats. Everybody, you know, works together. Everybody trolls similar directions. It definitely makes it a lot easier.
Hey, Jeff Miller here with Traxstech. These are our RRH 200s. These are just a straight up and down aluminum tube welded on our base plates to give us the flexibility of adjusting them up and down. But when we did our boat rigging video here installing this boat, we were actually talking to you about how a tube style rod holder in the straight up and down version helps us in the front of this boat. And here it is to show you. So if we're up here jigging, I can actually stand my jigging rod straight up here and it keeps the jig right off the bottom of the river on here. So a beautiful application for that. And then when we're up big water trolling on here, I can actually store 2, 3, 4 rod holders on each side of the boat, and I've got 4 to 8 extra rods up here, up on top of the gunnel walls, not anywhere in the way of my hatches or anything, or getting in the way of the middle of my boat, and they're up here on my gunnel walls, so if I need an extra downrigger rod, or planer board rod, or a lead core rod, I can actually have a spare rod on the boat rigged and ready to go, that if something was to break off or happen, I can mess with that later, come up front, grab myself up another rod, and go back to fishing. So just a place that our straight up and down RRH 200s come into play and can help you out.
So I'm here in Ludington. We have the Pier Marquette River here. We also have the Manistee rivers just to the north of here, the big and the little Manistee. The little Manistee I do believe is closed. You better check your regulations on that because of the egg weir. But any cold water stream, so any of these streams that are fed by a cold river, you're going to start to see kings probably in pretty good numbers. The Pier Marquette has a pretty good push of fish that went into the river system. A lot of them shot all the way past Indian Bridge already. However, they do stage all through Custer and Scottville and Walhalla. So if you can get there, the primary base that they're using right now is skein spawn, and then also large beads, not your normal steelhead beads, but even like 12 millimeter, 14 millimeter beads. So these really big beads underneath floats. When you're fishing these kings in the river, you don't need to tick the bottom like you are when you're steelhead fishing. So don't be afraid to just run your stuff a couple feet, 2, 3 feet below your bobber. A lot less snags, and it'll still produce good numbers of fish.
When the tournament's on the line, the top teams turn to Dreamweaver lures, spoons, plugs, flies, meat rigs, and the Great Lakes' favorite rotator, the Dreamweaver Spin Doctor. Dreamweaver has what you need to hook up with the biggest fish and more of them. Use what the pros use and add Dreamweaver lures to your arsenal. Check out the latest colors and the full Dreamweaver line at dreamweaverlures.com.
All right, so if you enjoyed my fishing report this week and you want to check out more stuff that I do, check out YouTube. I have Reel to Reel Outdoors on YouTube. We have a thing called the Captain's Roundtable. What it is 3 to 4 captains. We all sit down, we talk about tough topics and really detailed topics within our fishing and our trolling out on the big water. Thanks for tuning in this week. Get out there and catch some fish.